Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to another MAMG Let's Play of Sekimeiya. When we left off, we found a suitcase and we discussed a long time. We're actually still discussing about the suitcase. So yeah, there's a lot of theories abound. I kind of mentioned this in the last video. Hopefully, we'll see some of it unravel, untangle. Maybe they're gonna add more, like new characters or something. I don't know. I don't know where this game is headed yet. And I think that's my main, question about it. You know, it's like, where is this going? We have 12 more hours in game. What are we gonna uncover? All right, anyways, let's dive into the suitcase and see if we find anything else or if we're just gonna talk about how lovely and black it is. Okay, the culprit must have wanted to get rid of the suitcase as soon as possible since it's linked to the robbery attempt. CityPol did tell us an individual was found outside with a black suitcase, so being seen with one wouldn't be desired. Oh, am I not? There we go. Okay. If Kate is telling the truth, then it means that whoever left it here could have only been Naomi or an unknown culprit. There's technically another possibility, but it's too ridiculous to consider it seriously. When we went to the mechanical room, you all stayed together, right? For better or worse, Sai had been thinking the same. Yes, nobody left the security room. You want to suspect us this openly? Did you two get separated at all when you left? Now that you mention it, yes. I went to the mechanical room while Atsuki said he would inspect the rest of this floor. What? It was a strange sensation seeing everyone turn to me while I was silently waiting for Sai to react to what he said. He's messing with you. Probably. We didn't get separated. You aren't being funny. Well, I'm just surprised you didn't find us suspicious. Why would we? Even though you left, that's not enough of a reason. No, that's not what I meant. I think you have a good reason to suspect us. Don't you remember when we got back? We said we'd gone to the bathroom, didn't we? Did you? I didn't hear you from under the desk. I bet you regret not having accused us first then. Did we go to the bathroom and miss the suitcase? It could be Kate was right and it wasn't here yet. Don't take him seriously, we didn't go. Of course, Kate wouldn't really tell the truth, would he? Admittedly, we were a bit late, so we agreed we'd say that so we weren't suspected of anything. We never came here, but I knew we should have. Didn't I tell you? So you accuse me of lying and then immediately admit to having lied yourself. Your arguments keep falling apart. We don't really have a way to know when this was left, but I'd say it was likely it wasn't one of us. It must have been left by the people behind the attack. Right, and most likely before we woke up. There could be a reason as to why they would have to leave it here. Like what? No clue. I'm only saying that because of the smoke that wasn't released here. Even though this exact spot isn't recorded, whoever left the suitcase must have been seen by one of the two cameras. If you wanted to dispose of something this incriminating, I'd say you'd do it in a place without cameras, and there are many. That's true. If it was left after Kate inspected the floor, whoever did this is back to hiding. Which is why we should keep investigating. Let's finish checking the crystal floor and move on. The bathrooms were empty, so we were ready to move on. Regarding the suitcase, we weren't sure what to think, but we didn't take it with us. I thought of what Sai had said. The location where it had been was the only information we had to work with. I didn't want to think too deeply into every detail, but something came to mind. It could be that Kate was right this time. The location someone chose to leave the suitcase was one we hadn't yet been in. If the culprit left it there before we woke up, I can't think of a reason why they wouldn't have left it in one of the two vertical hallways. After all, at first glance, the plan only involved them and the event room. At no point was it necessary to enter hallway C with dangerous security cameras. I felt someone must have been nearby and had known that we hadn't been in hallway C. They'd chosen it so we couldn't figure out if it had been there the whole time. If they'd known that we couldn't access the saved footage anymore, they could have tricked us into thinking that. If they had left it in one of the two parallel hallways, we would have immediately known that it hadn't been there before. In addition, the spot wasn't in range of any of the cameras, so we couldn't have seen it while we'd been in the security room. But that idea had a flaw. The trick wouldn't work on Kate, who had already inspected that part of the floor. However, there were many reasons to believe that this had been a lie. The culprit would have known that Kate hadn't been in hallway C, and unaware that he had lied about it, they had placed the suitcase in here to trick him as well. There weren't many better places to do that. There we go. It was true that the upper floors existed, but according to Kate, they weren't open to the public. No matter the way I thought about it, it was strange that it hadn't been left in a room without cameras like the storeroom. I thought about it as I entered hallway B, and an ominous feeling hit me. If I was right, someone else there was still very close to us. We walked to the first room, which had a sign stuck on its door. We removed the smoke dust on it, and we saw an image of a mop and a bucket. As you can see, the cleaning cart is left here when it's not in use, alongside cleaning products and items. Yeah, there's probably nothing of importance here. It's not a big room. Akado was the first to step inside and glance around. As he'd said, the room was small and only served the purpose of storing cleaning materials. After stepping in and out, we all agreed and silently moved on to the crystal rooms in hallway B. We had the first one in front, B6. Once Kate and Isla made sure nothing was off, we moved on to the next door. This is a staff room, right? Yes, visitors are not supposed to go in, but it's not locked. So I can't go in? Don't worry, the circumstances deem it necessary. Kate opened the door. Behind it, we saw another small room, different than all the others we'd been in. Every staff member has their own space here. We use it to leave and pick up personal objects, and it's where we leave our uniforms before heading off. I see. So the belongings of some of the employees are in these lockers. Isla soon stopped looking interested, but for the rest of us, it was the most interesting room yet. Yes, everyone tends to lock them though. Let's see if one's open. I'm not sure we would. We might get in trouble. It's possible devices such as phones are kept here. Finding one would be incredibly useful. You sneaky, sneaky boy. As I said, they're not usually left open. You can check if you want. Sai went ahead and tried to open every locker. Shortly, we confirmed that Kate was right. They were all locked tight. You have your own locker, right? Do you keep anything in it that would be useful? No, they allow us to bring phones in as long as we keep them here, but I never bring mine. Right now, the only thing in my locker should be my coat. Can we see it? You want to see my coat? Partly, yes, but I also want to see the lack of other things. Do you still think I'm lying? Very well. It's good that this is something I can easily prove. Kate took a few keys out of his pocket. One of them was the one that he'd used to unlock the security room. Okay, he inserted a small one into the locker and turned it. Without a problem, he opened the door and showed us what was inside. We could only see a coat, but Kate went ahead and brought it out to show that nothing else was hidden behind it. He went as far as to show us every empty pocket. You see? I understand it's easy to suspect me, but I've only been telling the truth. One truth doesn't make up for all of the previous lies. Certainly, if the contents of your locker were harmful to you, you would have claimed not to own any. I really can't make you happy. Do you have more requests that I could use to prove my sincerity? No, not really. Kate put the coat back inside and locked the mechanism. All the lockers were very tall and had an extra smaller compartment in the upper part. 3 horizontal bars could be seen in the metallic doors, slits that allowed us to somewhat see the interior of the smaller compartments. However, I couldn't spot anything of importance, as the darkness concealed what was in them. Everyone was listening closely to the conversation between Kate and Sai. Sai kept reiterating that Kate was openly lying to us, so they must have wanted to foam their own thoughts. Sai knew nothing would be found inside the locker, so I suspect he wanted to see that coat. If it was the same, one that he'd seen Kate wearing in the lobby, he could back up his identity. Since he didn't react to it, it's fair to assume that it was the same one, but that doesn't settle anything. One extra step of this impersonation plan could have involved changing the locker's contents while we were unconscious. Could there be a way to force open the lockers? One of them must be Naomi's, so it'd be interesting to look inside it. What? No, I don't think about that. Please don't think about that. There are no tools to do this with. The lockers are very sturdy, and I'm sure Ashia would not be happy. Similarly, I'm not happy with spending 12 boring hours without getting the conclusions. Right now, Naomi is very suspicious. And what if she is? What do you think you'll find inside her locker? I'm letting you overstep a little. You shouldn't be allowed in this room, but I will not permit greater violations. Please, get this idea out of your head. I'll keep thinking whatever I want, but I agree. It'd probably be a worthless hassle. If Naomi is the culprit, she must know how suspicious she is, so she wouldn't have left anything relevant in her locker. That's what I'm saying. Isla tugged at Edina's clothes. Let's go, there's nothing in here. She is bored. We kept moving at a good pace until we had searched through the remaining 5 crystal rooms in hallway B. They all looked the same and nothing felt out of place. This is it. We knew that if someone was hiding, it wouldn't be easy to find him. Yeah, it's already past 10. One more person is confirmed to be with us, so if she hasn't appeared yet, it must be her intention not to show herself. Sai and I considered that Naomi's body must have been hidden. If that's what happened, it's likely no one else is hiding. The main point that indicates otherwise is the suitcase, but if Kate lied about it, he could be who hid Naomi. We'll have to move up then. We might find something on the higher floors. Our priority should be to understand the structure of this place and then find Naomi. We'll have many hours to go after that, which won't make it easy for anyone to stay hidden. We approach the hallway C staircase. Only employees ever go to the other floors. The structure of this building is like this. Right now, we are on the crystal floor. 5 floors above us are the offices, and they were empty during the attack. Why are there so many offices? When the structure of the building was first expanded, it served the purpose of containing many offices that worked for Ashia. This was before they thought of using the lowest floor as some sort of museum. That was the case for a while, until the perception of the people had of this place shifted to what it is now. The single remaining entity of Ashia and Yushibana, and the tourist attraction point. Nowadays, not many people who work in the offices remain, and they closed entirely just this December. Ashia doesn't make much use of them anymore, so they might disappear and be reworked eventually. The 7th floor is the Ashia floor, also called the attic. I explained about it earlier. Can we go in there? There's no way. As I said, I've never entered it, and only a handful of people who remain here have. Ashia are very fond of it since it's where they once lived, or at least that's what they say. Regardless of the reason, they want to preserve it well. How do we go about getting in? Like most places, you enter with a key, one that I don't have. Kate pointed his finger up the stairs, where a door prevented us from making it all the way up. I have a key for this one since it only keeps us from accessing the offices. He walked up and inserted another key in the keyhole. As he'd already done twice, he turned it. Unlike previously, however, the door didn't appear to smoothly unlock. What? It's not letting me... Hold on. Sai stepped up to him, twisted the knob, and pushed the door forward. It was open. Oh, that's strange. Sometimes this door is left open, but it's weird that it was now. Nobody has worked upstairs for 2 weeks. It's not really strange. Naomi also had a key, right? It just means that she probably opened it, or that someone did with her key. If it was you, you're not very good at remembering whether you locked a door. I'll pointlessly ask again so you guys understand it better. Kate, you did not see anyone when you looked through the security cameras, right? Correct. Then once again, that's strange. It's very likely someone unlocked this door and went through it. If they wanted to hide from us, they wouldn't have done so on this floor, meaning that it's very likely they went up some floors before we woke up and while you were allegedly in the security room. You won't stop trying to find ways to frame me, will you? I don't believe you're right. They would have known that I was inside the security room and must have only gone up when they saw I had left it. Kate was right. Sai's thoughts operated under the assumption that Kate hadn't been in the room, so he hadn't considered that simple angle. Well, let's go up. I bet the person we're searching for is currently above us. We began to climb the stairs. Can't we take the elevator? There's lots of stairs to get to the top, right? The elevator? I'm not sure if that'd be appropriate. We all slowly stepped down. We had entirely ignored the elevator. There shouldn't be an issue. The elevator was fully metallic. Oh, sorry, that's just a thought. Okay, so we weren't able to see the inside without opening it. Next to it was a button to call with, and nowhere did it indicate that it was being used or on which floor it was situated. Kate called it quietly. Many seconds later, the button lit up for a second, indicating that the elevator had arrived. Then, Kate opened the door, exposing an empty and narrow interior. It wasn't on this floor. It took a while, so it must have been pretty high up. That doesn't mean anything, does it? It could have been up before today's event even started. You're right. Kate, do you happen to know where the elevator should have been? Not at all. I didn't have the night shift and I didn't see it being used. It'd be good to know when it was last moved. Since this elevator doesn't this elevator bypass the door in the middle of the staircase? Yes, it does. Then what's the point of locking it? I just said it's not unusual for it to be left unlocked. In the past, when the offices were actively used, the measures were stricter. Since nothing ever happened, everyone started to be more lenient, often leaving the door unlocked. A similar change occurred to the elevator. Look inside. We all peeked in. What Kate was referencing was above the floor buttons. Keyholes? Is a key needed to make the elevator move? In the past, you needed the same key that opens the door to make it to floors 2 to 6 from here. That regulation was removed once people complained that it served no purpose, since the door would continuously be left open. However, this keyhole is still mandatory. To reach floor 7, the attic, a special key is needed. The same key opens the door that leads up to it. So, we'll be able to use the elevator to move freely through floors 1 to 6. Yes. Isla hopped onto the elevator all by herself, causing Edina to gasp slightly. This is interesting, actually. What is? Well, whoever went up to hide from us used the door instead of the elevator. You're right. They wouldn't have had to. I don't think so, at least. If it's true that they should have been locked, by leaving it unlocked, they're telling us they possess the key. Naomi wouldn't do that purposefully because it places suspicion on her. It's possible someone who's not a staff member unlocked the door. I see what you mean. There could have been a reason, but they didn't use the elevator instead. For example? Well, if the elevator wasn't on this floor, and the culprit knew it while in a hurry, they would have gone through the door instead of waiting for the elevator to arrive. I suppose so. That would also explain why they didn't lock it, right? It's a bit strange they didn't lock the door behind them, but there's any number of reasons for that. This should help us visualize the culprit's movements a bit more. Are we gonna go up? Oh my god, look at that. That face is so adorable. I love it. Don't be impatient. We can't all go up at once. With Kate keeping the door open, I was able to see why he'd said that. Inside the elevator was a sign indicating the number of people that could board it before the wait would prove a problem. Only 4 can be inside at once. It's a fairly old elevator. The stairs really aren't long, so let's walk up. No, I want to use the elevator. We hadn't yet had an issue with Isla's behavior, so we didn't want something so trivial to put an end to that. Sweetie, come on. We're not in the best position to demand anything. I want to use the elevator. If not, I can just stay on this floor and go back to the Sekimeiya. It's fine. We've already spent a while investigating and it's getting pretty old. Let's hurry the process up. If someone's hiding from us and truly want to find them, we won't accomplish it if we stay together. The culprit has an elevator, stairs, and knowledge of the layout. Much like on this floor, they could easily make sure to avoid us. To speed it up and increase our chances of finding them, let's split into 2 groups. Weren't you against that earlier? I'm fine with it depending on the groups. Ayla and Erina will take the elevator up to the 6th floor. As long as Akatsuki and Shiroya go up with them, it should be alright. Why us? To isolate the least suspicious people, of course. A problem with splitting up would be if someone could take advantage of it before we're able to thoroughly inspect the building. Kate, Akaro, and I will start on floor 2 and start progressively moving up until we meet with you guys again. Okay. Is that a good idea? Any issues? It's fine by me, but we don't have to do it like this. We could use the elevator twice or simply take it to the 2nd floor. I looked at everyone else and their reactions indicated indifference towards size arrangement. It was true that it increased our speed and chances of finding the culprit. As long as Ayla's whim was satisfied, she wouldn't complain. Alright, let's go. Sai went up the stairs and shortly disappeared from my field of vision. Akaro and Kate followed him, and I held the door Kate had kept open until then. Let's go too. Ayla went in first, followed by her mother. After Shiroya had entered, I boarded it last and closed the door behind us. This isn't a spacious elevator. I'm surprised it's supposed to support 4 people. In the cramped space, Shiroya moved her finger up to the floor 6 button. Admittedly, she was right. Since Ayla didn't occupy the space of a grown-up, it had ended up being buried in the back. As soon as the button was pressed, the translucent secondary doors closed and we began to slowly rise. Okay. Are we cool? We good? The elevator didn't shake at all, so we only knew we were moving because of the screeching noise the ropes were making above us. What's gonna happen? There were a few quiet seconds, and since the doors to the other floors were fully opaque, they were also dim. Ironically, I felt a vague sense of claustrophobia for the first time since we had awakened. Are we good? We're safe? Once the elevator slowed down, the secondary doors allowed us to leave. I opened the door that would lead us to an unknown place. Ooh. We stepped out and looked around us. A long hallway composed of calm colors extended far ahead. Is this really the same building? Compared to what we'd seen downstairs, the scenery around us was more pleasant. We even felt a slight breeze that alleviated some of the tension we'd been accumulating. More bathrooms? Since people used to work here, there might be 2 on every floor. Outside the elevator, we found ourselves in a wide corridor that only contained a few potted plants. At our right were the bathrooms and the staircase that led to floor 5. I suppose we should look around. The 3 girls entered their bathroom while I stepped into the men's one by myself. Like the one on the crystal floor, it was spacious but only contained a sink with a mirror and a garbage bin and a toilet. It was easy to tell that I was the only person inside. Although a potentially dangerous culprit might have been hiding from us, I loosened up a little. Interestingly, the thought of looking through those huge floors without restriction had released some of strain from my body, which allowed me to think about the needs that had disappeared from my mind, like using the bathroom for its intended purpose. Outside, I found the others waiting for me behind the door, and we went ahead to see if anything of importance awaited us nearby. We turned left past the large hallway, and we were met with a narrower path whose left wall was made of glass. What's this? These must be offices. I can only see desks and computers. Shiroya felt the handle and realized that the door wasn't locked. She easily pushed it open without making a sound and let us pass. There's another door in the back. Since this floor is as big as the first one, it must have a lot of space to encompass a bunch of these. Ayla walked up to the far door and opened it. It looks the same. We glanced through and saw a replica of the room. It looked identical down to the last object, with the same arrangement of desks and computers. There's another door there. We approached it. Although the first wall was made of glass, the next two partitions were separated by plastic that heavily obscured the other side. Through the door, we were able to see that, once again, the third section looked exactly like the first two. The exception was the lack of a door leading to a fourth. Even though the initial thought of inspecting a huge building sounded slightly interesting, the layout made it a trivial task. There's nothing here either. Let's look around a bit. I doubt it, but we might find something. Yeah, let's see. We dispersed ourselves throughout the three large partitions. I was left with the third one. All the desks had drawers, but upon further inspection, they didn't contain anything relevant to us. The only thing of note was that each desk contained a computer tower inside its lower, larger compartment. I returned to the second partition. There are even cameras here? Yeah, I saw them. They do look a bit out of place. It's probably the result of Ashia's paranoia. I'm not sure these would help them much, but it seems so. Maybe it's to make sure the workers here don't slack off. Even though it had sounded like a joke, I understood she hadn't intended it as one. After all, in the second and third partitions, you wouldn't be seen from the outside. The wall covered the partition's sides, and a cloudy white one kept them from seeing each other. It was a pretty cramped place, and I couldn't imagine myself working calmly with that camera pointed at me. I wasn't sure what the jobs here entailed, but looking at the number of computers, a large amount of people must have worked here at once, adding to the fact that 5 similar floors were supposed to exist. It almost felt excessive. I stepped into the first partition to see Erina and Ayla looking at a lit-up screen. Upon noticing me, they were the first to speak. I powered on this computer, but it's taking a while to boot up. On the screen, I could see a percentage bar that had almost reached the end. I briefly worried that Ashia would review the footage of us using their computers, but it wasn't like we were doing anything illicit. Soon, Shiria came to the middle partition and the four of us stared at the same screen. Found anything? No, and I don't imagine we will. I see. I haven't either. Ayla was mimicking what she'd seen Shiria do, opening and closing the drawers. She appeared visibly sad when the last one still contained only pens and papers. Aww, she's a little detective. Oh, look, I doubt we'll be able to access anything. On the screen there were 2 text boxes demanding a username and password. Without them, we wouldn't be able to look into anything. That's unfortunate. Just in case, I tried inputting some common default information, but nothing gave a positive result. Yeah, these won't be of any use. I gave up and straightened myself. Let's keep going. The lower floors will probably be the same, so we'll be able to get through them faster. The stairs leading to floor 5 were next to the elevator, but let's see what's on the other side first. We walked out, Ayla holding the door for us. Such a sweet little girl. Shiria gave her a charming smile and helped her before Erina exited through. As soon as we turned left, we were met with something I'd seen from behind the glass. What's that for? Oh, right, I forgot about these. 2 big windows were in the wall, but as we'd been told, a shutter prevented us from seeing through them. Yeah, they're windows. These are the same kind of shutter as the one in the lobby. Ayla made a thinking sound. I also hadn't thought of the windows since they were barely visible from the first partition, but their purpose must not have been to relax the workers. I remember seeing these from the outside. Yeah, they should be facing the front of the tower. We'd normally be able to see most of Yushibana from here. I knew it. Ayla approached the shutters with her hand and felt them a bit. They seemed pretty sturdy. I'm not sure this would be the most viable escape route for a criminal. We're on the 6th floor, so to escape through here, you definitely need special help. Yeah, they took no risks this time. It would be tough, but even this window could serve as an exit with a proper plan. Ayla, who had been acting as if she was at home, left us behind and went to explore what looked to be another corridor. After understanding that nothing was to be done with the windows, we moved along too. A narrower path was on the other side of the floor. However, it didn't appear to lead anywhere. Is it a dead end? Oh! Ayla turned around when she realized it. As nothing else was left to be inspected, we walked back and returned to the initial hallway. I guess this was floor 6. Let's see if there's anything different on the other floors. We came to the conclusion that it's very likely the culprit is here, so this layout makes things easy for us. We arrived on floor 5 in silence. It looked very similar to the 6, and it had the same bathrooms at our right. We looked at them while making sure nobody could sneak past us and go a floor up. At first glance, the floor appeared to have the same structure as the previous. I inspected one of the plants just to be safe. The soil in these is actually really shallow. I don't think anyone could be hiding something in here. The pots themselves weren't hollow either. Nobody could hide anything underneath them. I didn't think anyone had, but in case there was still something else going on, I wanted to have my bases covered. I actually couldn't tell if the plants were fake or not. It didn't really matter. I visualized the layout of the floors in my head, and I considered how unlikely it actually was for someone to be hiding in them. After walking farther into it, it was clear that it was almost identical. Is every floor exactly like this? They probably are, but we'll have to look at them just to be sure. Why is this place so big? Come on, Ayla. You're bothering Shiroya and Natsuki. We need to keep moving. Oh. As long as someone stays in the first partition and can look through the glass, we can make sure nobody moves between the floors unseen. Right. One person always needs to stay out of the last two. Alright. Since we'd seen no stairs going down, I walked to the other side. Yeah, that's what I figured. The stairs to the 4th floor are here. I walked back as the others entered the first partition. Once again, the 4 of us found ourselves in a room full of desks and computers. I've been trying not to think about it, but what if there's someone on the next 2 rooms? What do we plan to do? We went quiet for a bit. She's right. We've been maintaining a lighthearted attitude, but things may change drastically in an instant. We don't know what we're up against, but the truth of the matter is that we're in a dangerous situation. Perhaps we should just stay put. Without Sai around, that sounded a lot smarter. Eliana had been playing along with us, but she must have been too afraid something could happen to Ayla. I doubt they'd want to hurt us, but without Akaro, our only physical advantage is that there are 4 of us. I guess that is if someone's hiding, though. Nothing guarantees it's only one person. As our perspective on the situation shifted over a single comment, I slowly moved toward the door in front of me. Even though the walls weren't transparent, they let light through. If someone were right next to them, I'd see a vague outline of them. In a slightly tense manner, I put my hand on the handle and slowly opened the door. I don't see anybody. I'll check the last one. Shiroya kept the door open so that my voice could still reach the first partition. I grabbed the next handle and pushed the door forward. It's empty too. I loosened my grip and walked back to the others. It seemed nobody had been on floor 5 either. Should we also look around here? We probably won't find anything, but I think we should. I agree. We're not only looking for people. In case the culprit wanted to get rid of something, like they probably did with the suitcase, they wouldn't have had many places to do so. That's true. The crystal floor has a simple layout, but these are even worse. If you wanted to hide something here, you'd only have these drawers. That's what I mean. Someone was likely here since that door to the stairs was unlocked, so let's see if we can find something. Ayla took that as her cue to start opening all the drawers. Again, I went to the 3rd partition while Shiroya stayed in the middle one. Opening every drawer was all I could do. There wasn't anything under the desk that could hide something, and the floor was nothing but a mess of cables. In less than 2 minutes, I could be sure that nothing of importance existed in that section of floor 5. I left it to find Shiroya about to be done with hers. Okay. Nothing, I imagine? Yeah, I looked at some of these papers, but I don't think they have anything to tell us. Some were financial reports, but others I didn't understand at all. That's about what I saw on the other floor. I tried not to look at them too much since the camera was right behind me. Oh, yeah. They'll probably look through the footage to make sure nothing strange happened. She apologized facing the camera before opening the door to the first partition. Perhaps the situation had forced her to start moving back to her usual persona in a similar way I felt it was affecting me. I smiled at her and went through the door she'd opened, calmed by the thought my worries about her had been imagined. Okay. Are you done? We didn't find anything. Neither did we. We can move on then. If the other group went to the same space, we should find them on the next floor. We were about to leave when a sound alerted me. A very faint but deep noise that lasted almost 2 seconds and very vaguely heard from where we were. The two of us visibly reacted at the reminder that our situation was very uncertain, and having effortlessly deemed two full floors as harmless might have amplified the impact a single light noise had on us. Isla, however, remained unfazed. Perhaps ignorance was bliss, but it seemed like she had no concerns whatsoever. You guys heard that, right? I didn't hear anything. I'm not sure I did. What was it? I don't know, but I heard it too. It was quiet, but I think it came from this floor. Shiraya and Elina looked a bit tense and focused their hearing in case something else could be heard again. It must have been the others. I opened the door. I wanted the initial inspection to finally end, to permanently release the stress I've been building and knowing what hiding a culprit could have been anywhere. I realized Elina and Shiraya were coming along. We only had 2 directions to choose, and I hadn't made out the origin of the sound. However, since the right path led to floor 6, it was fair to assume that it had come from the left. Elina quickly checked the right hallway and indicated that she hadn't seen anything. As I reached the end of the glass that Isla was looking at me through, I peeked into the next corridor. I don't see anything. Shiraya looked too and saw a completely empty path. It might have come from floor 4. Possibly, I couldn't tell. We entered the first partition again, where Isla was calmly sitting on a rotating chair and staring at our distressed faces. Do we keep going? Yeah, we need to ask the others what that sound was. All of us felt it appropriate to exhale. However, Isla disagreed. You don't need to look so worried. Nothing bad will happen. I would always have imagined I'd be the one saying that in a time like this. Believe me, there's no reason to be scared. Any particular reason you say that? I know nothing will happen. We just need to wait until we can leave. I saw Shiraya staring at her with skepticism. She knew optimism was great when it hadn't failed you yet. You're probably right. Winla got caught up in an inconvenient situation. Yeah, we'll be back home in just a few hours, so let's just go back down already. If nothing else, her playful smile made it clear that she was aware that she was being unreasonable with her last part. Her high spirits were genuinely impressive. I'm being serious. We don't need to search for any hidden person. There's no one here. We're searching precisely to know that for sure. I'm already telling you, these floors are a lot more boring than the crystal floor, so we don't need to waste our time like this. That face is a girl. Is a face of a girl who's completely over it. Waste our time. If I'd intended to take her seriously, I couldn't have helped but laughed. So, you know the result of a search, that search hasn't finished. Yeah. Shiraya and Elina's expression told me that arguing would lead us to nowhere. But I was stubborn and slightly curious about her attitude. How could you possibly know that? Because I was told. My brain processed that line as another thoughtless remark she had made up to justify her claims. Only after a few seconds of silence did I realize what she'd said. What do you mean? Who told you? My friend. Not again. Don't take her seriously. She's been acting like this lately. What do you mean? Maybe she's a bit careless, but she's a kid. I don't think it's anything strange. I just don't mean the lies. Her behavior's been changing recently. In what way? Isla, who was right there, responded with a face full of disagreement. Well, I've talked to her a bit about this. I don't know why, but a few weeks ago she started talking about this friend of hers. Again, Isla breathed in a sad manner, as if she was being ridiculed unfairly. She just doesn't want to believe me, but I know I'm right. I only tried to make you feel better. What kind of friend do you mean? Who are they? I can't tell you. It's our secret. See, this is what she says. Recently, she started constantly referencing this intangible friend of hers. At first, I was happy to hear her talking about a friend since the teacher at school usually tell me she's more on the lonely side. She never really talked about her friends until now. But she quickly made it sound as if she was always with them and kept explaining to me things that she'd been told. I knew she had made it all up because I never saw her with anyone, and the things she'd presumably been told were all things that she'd said before or things I felt she would say. We watched my favorite movie together, and it was her favorite too. She went to the aquarium last month, just like us. You see what I mean? So she's a girl too. Yeah, that's the only thing we agreed we could say. Okay. I'd probably be taking it better if it were only the only thing that changed, but she also started to behave differently in other ways. She frequently stopped listening to what I told her to do, spent less time with me, and one day I found out she hadn't gone to school because she hadn't felt like it. I really don't know what's gotten into her. An imaginary friend at her age isn't too strange, but it makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, especially if it comes with so many more changes. Why won't you believe me? She's real, I keep telling you. I don't think you should act against it, right? Let her have fun with her friend. So, she told you that everything would be fine and that we'd make it out safely, right? Yeah. I believe you. There's nothing wrong with what you're saying. Thank you, Tanya. So, how is she handling this? Did she like the Sekimeiya? Isla looked confused, as if she'd been betrayed by the first person who'd accepted her. No, of course not. She's not here, right? Oh, I suppose not. She told me that we would make it out safely before we came to the tower. What do you mean to say? When exactly did she tell you? You shouldn't listen to her. Don't you see this isn't something to take seriously? I've tried, but it's pointless. She told me that something would happen in the tower, but not to worry. She said that if we stayed calm and in one place, nobody would be hurt. And she promised I'd be able to see and touch the Sekimeiya. So she was right, wasn't she? Before answering, I kept trying to make sense of such a confusing bunch of words. However, I started to think that her story could be seen in a completely different way, a much more ominous one. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna leave this video here. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, you'd think by this point in the story, something big would have happened, right? Like, I'm still waiting for that, like, uh-oh, here it goes. And I guess it's more Steins Gate than, say, Danganronpa, if that makes any sense, even though some people think Danganronpa has a slow burn. I'm curious about it. I just don't know where the plot's headed. And I feel like we've done a lot of thinking and searching for no real result yet, right? We've checked all these floors, we've checked all these rooms, and unless it's gonna set up something else that's gonna pay off in the future, I kind of want to know why we're spending so much time doing this. So maybe we'll get some plot threads in the next episode. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next MAMJ Let's Play.